Welcome to 5-Minute Mediumship, and in this video we're going to look at Clair-Cognizance. So Clair-Cognizance is the last of the psychic senses that I'm going to cover at this point in time, and it's that sense of knowing, so it's clear knowing. So it's that aspect of working with spirit when they're communicating with us and giving us information that we absolutely know what they're trying to tell us, but perhaps we don't always perceive the way that we're receiving the information. It's that case of that understanding of the communication just springs forth and we know exactly what the contact is asking us to deliver to their recipient. Now, we all within us have all of the senses. It's just that some are more naturally attuned to our own energy, some we're more confident with, and the other ones that tend to be a little bit weaker, we, just because of the way we are, tend to pay a little bit less attention to them. Now, there's a train of thought that Claircognizance is all of your other senses, but working so quickly that you can't determine the difference between them. I don't actually necessarily subscribe to that thought or that point of view. You know, I think when we work with a contact, all of our clair senses, all of our psychic faculties are actually utilised. It's just that we become aware of what we're aware of. So if clairvoyance is a really strong primary sense for us, then we become more aware of the clairvoyant image than we do of their clairsentient sense or the claircognizant knowing, for instance. For me and my understanding and my experience through my own journey with spirit and my own development and the way that I've been working, Clair-Cognizance is about attunement to the energy of spirit. So if you think of all of us as a vibration of energy, which we are, and if you think of us as vibrating at a particular frequency, a particular vibration, now, the frequency of spirit has its own specific vibration, and when we start to work with spirit, our energy starts to move and starts to attune to their level of vibration. So we start to attune to a different frequency. The more able we're able to do that, and the more refined that attunement becomes, then the easier it is for spirit to impress upon us what they want us to deliver, and the greater level of detail and sense and understanding and knowledge we have about what the particular contact is trying to deliver to us. If you know something, you simply know it, so you don't have to interpret it, you don't have to understand it. You actually are just able to deliver it. So for me, when we start to work very claircognizantly, so when that sense of knowing starts to become what we would class as our primary sense, it starts to become stronger than our sense of clairvoyance, it starts to become stronger than our sense of clairaudience or clairsentience. For me, that's because our actual vibration, our attunement to the energy of the spirit world is more aligned, it's more in tune, it's more harmonious. So it becomes easier for us to actually move our conscious awareness to the spirit world. And all of that process of refining our level of attunement, that happens through practice, and that happens over a period of time as we are working with and becoming familiar with the energy and the presence of spirit, of the spirit world, and of spirit contacts. So when we work with clair-knowing, it can be a very subtle way of working, and sometimes it can become difficult for us to recognise that aspect of attunement to the spirit world because it is so subtle. As we start to become more refined in a process of attunement, and that attunement becomes easier, we don't notice a difference between our own energy and the energy of spirit quite so much. The difference with Clair-Cognizance for most of us as we start to understand that we're beginning to work that way is that we can't always tell where the information has come from, and so we have that element of doubt sometimes in trusting. Is it us or is it actually information we're receiving from spirit? And the only way to truly know that is, how do you feel within your own energy, within your own soul? Do you know it to be true? And then if you deliver it, is it understood fully by the recipient? And if it is, then you really have to trust that you are starting to work with a much more claircognizant sense rather than with your other primary senses. If we think about clairvoyance, we have a very clear image. So when we're giving a piece of information, we know where that piece of information has come from. And we don't always have that with Clair-Cognizance. So that can be a challenge for us when we're starting to work with and develop our Clair-Cognizance, because there isn't that clear definitive arrow that's saying, yes, that's where the information is coming from. The information is coming from the spirit contact, but it's coming to us in a much more subtle but much more integrated way, because our attunement is much closer, much more refined, much more at a natural level of harmony and balance with that of the spirit world. So I hope that's given you a little bit of a sense of Clair-Cognizance. As you're working with Clair-Cognizance, the most important thing you can do is to trust it. Trust it, give the information, and most of the time you'll find that the information is recognised. If the information isn't recognised, or if it isn't quite recognised in the way that you feel that you're delivering it or receiving it, then just go back to that spirit contact and ask them for a little bit more clarity, or ask them to give you a little bit more information or detail, and then trust the next experience you have. Trust that next sense of knowing. When working with all of your psychic senses, but particularly with Clair-Cognizance, trust is everything.